What's in a name? Everything. The power of a name has long been immortalized in prose, poetry, and history. It is your face to the world, your ambassador of quality that reflects your ideals and aspirations. Thompson's, a name, a family, a tradition of excellence. So it is with Thompson's Toyota, where our professional and courteous staff are eager to help you drive home your dream vehicle from the largest selection of new and used Toyota cars and trucks at the best prices. And if your vehicle needs service, our Toyota factory-trained and certified service technicians have the skill and expertise to do the job right and do it right the first time. Thompson's Toyota, where you'll always be treated like family.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining us. Today we're fishing two classic Columbia River salmon fisheries. First, we're at Longview fishing Brad's Wobblers, and then we're heading up to just below Bonneville Dam to fish the Brad's killer fish for fall Chinook. Now if you want to learn how to fish these two types of lures more effectively, then stay tuned.
I'm Justin Wolff, and this is Angler West Television.
It's early September, a time when countless boats anchor up in hog lines up and down the lower Columbia for what's known as the wobbler fishery, an amazingly effective technique for fall Chinook. Water temperature is the key to this fishery. It's late summer, and these fall Chinook are migrating through relatively warm water looking for cooler temperatures, which is what we have just below the mouth of the cooler Cowlitz River. In these warm water conditions, wobblers such as these Brad's Wobblers are very effective. Today we're with Brad's Pro Staff member Bob Spar, who's fishing with Brad Schoenborn and his wife Joanne, and Doug Belmore. Well before sunrise, the hog lines are forming, but it's the tide that will turn on the bite.
As soon as it turns, it starts running out, it'll start working the wobblers better for us. And as soon as the action gets on that lure, we're going to put fish in the boat. I mean, they're here to have, and there's a lot of here right now, so. That's the first one in the hog line. Yep, put them on the bottom. There he is. And about 14, 15 pounds. That's about, they're running, 14 to 18 is the average for these upriver brights.
Greg was saying
yeah.
He thought he got one about 25 pounds for grazier yesterday, but he said everything was about 14 to 18 pounds or so.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice one. All right, Brad.
Want them all in?
Yep. In your way. Throw the ball. Just hang on. Huh?
Look at real small one. When you're fishing a Bobber's hook, you just wind steady, no pumping. If you pump, the fish will come off usually. You're giving it slack. Yeah, you're getting close. There he is.
Little guy.
Pretty low. Beautiful fish.
Oh, there was a nice fish, Brad. Good job.
Hey.
Look at that wobbler. Awesome. There we go. Sweet.
Good job, bud.
Bang, bang.
All right. One in the boat.
Yeah, Steve's 3 for 3 this morning. Got another fish coming down right now on Brad's wobbler as well. Three wobblers on one fish. That's a good deal.
There you
That's
go.
great advertising.
I told you that's been a good lure. Just a custom one that I just use tape on. It's a half and half and chartreuse tape front and back. And you can get all kinds of different kinds of tape, and you come up with any kind of design. You dream up and just fish it, and if you got confidence in it, it'll work for you. This is the wobbler you're looking for. You don't want it running over. You want it nice and slow. You don't want it real fast like that. You just want it nice and slow. And that'll attract the salmon more than the real fast. There's a fish right there next to us. You want to take them down nice and slow. Don't send them down real fast. You send that down real fast, that wobbler will chase that. There's a nice little guy. It'll just wrap up on the line. So go down nice and slow. Keep the wobbler back and the lead down. 5-foot dropper, 6-foot leader, pretty much standard. Go to shallower water, you want to shallow that stuff up. You can go to a 4 or 5-foot leader, 4-foot dropper. Depends on the water you're working. Here we're working almost 50 feet of water. He's got a little one on there, so.
Oh no, he just lost his fish. Well, what happens is with these barbless hooks, you got to keep a little pressure on, constant pressure. When the fish throws a head shake and you drop the rod and bounce the rod tip, sometimes it throws enough slack in the line to let the fish kick the hook. So you got to keep a constant pressure on it all the time. Instead of trying to do heavy pumps, you just stay nice and constant pressure. But sometimes you win, sometimes you lose.
Here at the mouth of the Cowlitz River, that water coming out is usually about 10 degrees cooler than what the Columbia is. The Columbia right now is almost 74 degrees. Down deep, that's why we're in 40 or 50 feet of water. It's a little cooler, and that water coming out of the Cowlitz cools off, and it's kind of a holding spot here for the Chinook coming up from Mastoria, Buoy 10 area, and this is a place where they'll just kind of rest a little bit and kind of cool off because this water is so hot. So it's a great place to fish. Anywhere from here down to Cathlamet, you'll intercept these fish coming up here, but I kind of partial to this mouth right here because of that cold water being here. All right, Joe. Hey, hey.
It's right here.
Net, Greg. There you go. Little guy, huh?
I should have stayed up on anchor.
That's okay. Oh. That's a stab and a half, ain't it? You know, Buzz Ramsey did that to me one time. I said, man, you're the best netter I've ever had.
There's one fishing rod company that produces more species-specific rods than any other in the world, with the highest quality standards for over 60 years, allowing you to fish with confidence.
Welcome back to the Columbia River. I'm Justin Wolff. Joanne Schoenborn has number 2 in the boat for us this morning on Brad's Wobblers. This year, the Columbia's fall Chinook run is very large, so if you have the right lure with the right setup, you're likely going to catch fish.
I'll take it. Never been a fish I didn't like.
Me neither. That fish hit a BX06 Mini Extreme.
This is the basic setup right here in the mouth or anywhere down below the bridge on this wobbler fishing. You'll run 16 ounces of lead. I run 15-pound tests for my dropper. It'll come right up here. I just run a little bead like yay. There's a fish.
Right when you're just letting it out a little bit, backed it down about 3 feet, and that fish just came up and pounded it.
That fish hit a BX47, and we've got a 6-foot leader on 40-pound. The reason why we run 40-pound is the diameter. That helps that lure float to the surface. It's a drag on this current behind the boat. It'll help that lure hold up on the top spectrum of the water. 5-foot dropper. I use 15-pound for my dropper leader, so if it does get tangled in the net, I can break it. And I got 65-pound on the rod and reel, main line. And it's small diameter. It doesn't drag as much, so we use somewhere between 8 and 16 ounces of lead in this fishery right here. They're little today. Look at this one.
Yeah, little smaller fish.
That explains why some of the strikes that we get are not hookups. They don't get that big lure in their mouth. Way to go, Steve. They were picking up their lines, and one of the clients had it all the way out, and it ended up getting a hit while he was fighting one, and now they got double. So all on chartreuse green dot. 06 is the model number of that lure. This mini extreme, it's a BX 06. When you take them out of the package, barbless here on the Columbia, the first thing I want to do is pinch those barbs. Okay, make sure they're pinched. I do a simple cinch knot on 40-pound test. I don't get fancy with any polymers or anything. I just do a improved cinch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I count with my thumb, come through and back through. When I set this lure in the water, what I do is I'll ease it down in there, and I'll look at it, and I'm looking for a certain wiggle. See that rolling over? It's got a little bit too much kick for what the Chinook like. When they roll over like that, you don't want that. So there's some tuning that you do. And most people, if they've never done any tuning, we recommend that you take it on a boat on a rail like that. And this here's the flat bottom. From this seam line up, it raises. So you take and bend it down, will slow the wobble down. You bend it up and it'll go faster. So I'll take it on a rail, picture a seam line, just bend it a little bit. Now you see it's a little flatter. Now when I put that in the water, you'll see the difference in the wobble. It won't roll over, it'll be flat. I can't get it to hardly roll over, see? And I can slow it down even more. I've done this enough that I know where to hold it. I'll just bend it a little bit flatter and slow that speed down. So there's the speed they like right there. A little slower. Now, that's the wobble they like. I can go ahead and give it now. If you want to give it more, is you adjust these with the tide. When the tide is screaming real hard, the flatter you'll run them. So I'll put my fingers right here and just ooch it a little bit. Then I'll put it back in there and watch the speed of that lure now. So I just give it a big kick. It's almost violent. So, you know, that would be my limit, what I like. I will bend it back down and slow it down. So there's a lot slower. I don't know what it is. The Chinook like that slower little wobble. And then I'm pulling out of the way.
In less than an hour since we started fishing, everyone on board had their legal limit except me. So I grabbed a rod and got my fish as well. Now, if you'd like to learn more about wobbler fishing, you can visit the Brad's website at bsfishtails.com.
You're doing a good job, Justin. Wrong fish, okay.
Whoa, it's big. I told you it was a bigger one. I had that.
Now, for a rod for wobbler fishing, the ideal is this Lamiglass 8-foot 8-inch Kenai Quick Series. You can go to lamiglass.com and look up that model number for more information. Now stay tuned because we're going to just below Bonneville Dam to fish the Brad's killer fish for more fall Chinook.
Good job, Justin. Good. Hey, right on.
Spar special.
Nice. It's a nice, calm, late summer morning on the Columbia River, a fishery where lures such as Brad's killerfish really shine. We're with guide Tim Cook, Dave Ing, Greg Wilson, and Doug Belmore, heading to a spot to anchor up about a mile or so downstream from Bonneville Dam.
Okay, we're anchoring here below Bonneville Dam, right next to Beacon Rock. We're going to be fishing Brad's killerfish here for some salmon. Okay, we're fishing here below Bonneville in this particular spot because we're fishing based on the amount of current. The current is the key to the salmon up here. If you don't have enough, you're not going to catch any fish because the fish won't be running there. It concentrates the fish in a narrow path so that way we can catch them in this particular spot. All right, so I have this killer fish here wrapped with a sardine, and what I'm doing now is I'm tuning it. I want to make sure that it's going to run straight. It's going to go back and forth, side to side, and the way you do that is you turn the eye here. So I'll drop it in the water, and right now it's going back and forth perfectly. It's not going to one side. No matter what I do to it, I can pull on it and add more current, and it just keeps working. So we're using 16 ounces of lead, and depending on if the current picks up at all, we may have to go up to 20 ounces. Like I was saying earlier, it's all dependent on the current, and if we don't have at least 16 ounces, then we won't be fishing. So, yep. Go ahead and bring that one in. Yep. Okay. Is this all good, Dave? Yep.
Yeah. Still there? Yep. I'll let you back in the kitchen here and get out of the way.
Okay.
It's all yours.
Good. Sounds so much nicer with the clicker on.
Yeah. Neutral, because it's right there. Go.
Come on, baby. Drop her on. There you go. Are you in the box?
Nice fish.
Hey, that's Cromer.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so this is the plug that we just caught the fish with. It's Brad's killer fish, chartreuse head. It's running perfect. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna rewrap the plug. So I'm gonna start off by taking the scissors and cutting off the old wrap. And we're gonna grab a fresh sardine. When I cut my sardines, I want them to be about 2.5 inches long. I want them to be uniform in shape. So they're gonna just basically look like that. I'm gonna cut it right down the center. Okay, when I'm wrapping it, I'm gonna make sure that the bait is in the center of the lure, because if it gets off to one side, the lure will not run true. No matter how much you tune it, it's gonna run to one side. So I want it to be right in the center. So I start at the bottom there and wrap it a bunch of times to keep the meat on and keep it from flopping around. And then I do the same thing on the top. And here I kind of pushed it off to that one side, so I'm gonna push the sardine up so that way it's straight. Just like that. Pull like that, and now your killer fish is completely wrapped. Okay, so what we're doing here is we have a 6 foot long leader, and the reason I run a 6 foot long leader is because it allows the lure to work the way it's supposed to. It gives it free range to move around the way it was intended to. If you use too short of a leader, it's also going to be sitting right next to your lead and all your other line, and the fish is going to be able to see that stuff and they won't bite it. We use P-line just because it's extremely strong, durable, and works really well. Easy to tie knots. The memory seems very low in it, so it doesn't cause coils, stuff like that.
Welcome back to the Columbia River. I'm Justin Wolff. We're just below Bonneville Dam, where your line and drag settings are important factors.
All right, I use 40-pound P-line. The reason being is we need a line that's going to be strong enough because you catch some big fish up here. You never know what you're going to get. You might get hook an oversized sturgeon, and you don't want to lose your best plug to it, so that way you can put enough pressure on the fish to get it up and actually land it. And then the way we're fishing here is we have light drags, and the reason that we have a light drag is so that way as soon as the fish hits, it's going to peel off a bunch of line, get downriver as far as possible away from the other lines, so that way we don't get tangled. If you run a tight drag while just sitting on anchor here, the fish is going to hit and it's going to run either to this side or to the other side, and it's going to tangle up all your lines. So you definitely want to make sure you have a light drag so it can take out line, get behind your other lines so you can get those lines up before you throw anchor to go and chase them.
One thing about fishing below Bonneville Dam is that the water flow can change quickly, and this morning we found ourselves with just too much current in this area. The fix is to head upstream to fish as close to the dam as legally possible, where conditions are more favorable.
So we're up here at the deadline at Bonneville Dam. We're back trolling. Anchor fishing wasn't working out because the current got too heavy. So we came up here because there's a lot less current and we're able to actually fish the killer fish properly. The reason we're using jet divers instead of lead is because we're slowly going backwards. We're going to go somewhere between a quarter mile an hour and a half a mile an hour backwards. If we're going any faster than that, the diver nor the lure will work, so we want to just barely be going backwards. And the reason why we do not use lead is the lead will actually get snagged on the bottom. No matter what we do, we can't fish effectively with lead. We have to be able to just go slow backwards, and the divers keep it right along the bottom, they hit bottom, and then they sit there and keep moving back with the rods.
You know, what we're using here today is the Kenai Quicks from Lama Glass. And you know, you can get a nice parabolic rod that has some give to it, just like feeding a herring. You want it to, you know, not just be nothing but tip, but you want some nice medium action all the way through the rod. And that way when they bite, they just don't sense that the rod is just going crazy. They don't feel it. And then by the time they figure out it's an actual lure, they're hooked. Oh, okay. Is he still there? Oh, he's gone. Gone? Yep. No, he's there. Oh, he's there. I got it. So, let me call you right back, Steve.
Thanks for watching today's episode of Angler West TV. You know, it's only with the sponsor support that this show is made possible, so please thank them when you can. Now get out there and do some great fishing.